Thought I'll just quickly go through a quick explanation of what web scraping is. Right? Strictly defined, web scraping is nothing but the process of crawling or spidering a website. You might have heard of that term, or multiple websites in a systematic manner, and then to extract relevant data, normally not intended for um, software program consumption. It's mostly intended for human consumption. So what is the big deal about that? The big deal about this is because the web was originally designed in a haphazard manner. It was originally designed for humans and not for machines, and it has varied implementations, versionings. Internet Explorer spoiled it for everyone because of their leniency in terms of enforcing HTML standards. And so there are so many versions of JavaScript itself, or CSS, and even HTML. Different browsers obey differently, and even broken HTML is parsed in many browsers. So all of that, and that makes it very difficult to parse the web, and there's no standardization. And also, even once you parse it, the HTML part of it, you don't know where data is. Data is visually presented in HTML. It's a visual language, and it's not a semantic language. That means the tags humans automatically uh, from the way it is laid out, we pick up the meaning of what that data is, but machines find it very difficult to do that. So they need to be told what is what, and to convert from HTML layout, which is intended for humans, to actually pick out the exact piece of data and put it in a particular field in a database is not easy. So that whole process is called web scraping. So web scraping actually involves web crawling as well as dealing with the scraping of the data once you finish crawling. There are different approaches before we get into it. If you want a quick, dirty, just get a page full of, I don't know, links or news items, or scrape one Wikipedia page, or just a table you found somewhere of email addresses. You can just do that without really knowing a lot about web scraping. You can just go and get a browser plugin and straight away scrape in front of you using a browser plugin, using a web scraper. Then there are specialized web scraping techniques that we use, for example, just for email addresses. And let's say you are a marketer and you want to find leads. Then how do you generate leads using web scraping? What are the tools for that? How do you find it out of LinkedIn, for example? These are all specialized ways of doing it. And we'll get into that a little bit. Then comes the more deeper stuff, which is web scraping using automated tools. This could be tools like import.io, Scraping Hub, and providers like this who offer a SaaS service almost, or an enterprise service, where you can set up scheduled scraping and web crawling jobs with large quantities of data, and work with sophisticated systems like that. And then there also it's a no code system where you're just feeding in data and the machines take over and scrape it. Then there is the most powerful version of this, which is if you want to do it in house, and if you want to do it in such a customizable way that you cannot but do it in house, then you can do web scraping using programming. We're going to do a quick dive into all of these things. And I'm writing a blog post as I speak, and therefore I'm going to jump between the blog post and the presentation over here. That's why I've not blown this up full screen. All right, scraping inside Google Chrome using plugins. There are 3 plugins. You can just get them. Most of them do the same thing, really. And they use CSS selectors and XPath. Many of them you don't even need to know how to do CSS selectors. And they export it to a CSV file. Some export it into even Google Drive or Google Sheets. So it's easy for you. And they have some limitations, but between them, I think you get enough data for a small time use. Right, all the links are here. Once you download this presentation, you will be able to easily go through. Plus, I will put a link to the article at the end of this presentation, because the article has much more in-depth stuff, including code pieces and stuff like that, that you can readily use and read at leisure. This is just to give a visual overview for you. If you're too lazy to read the article. Here we go. Specialized web scraping is typically, let's say, scraping data from LinkedIn. There are a bunch of these companies which have these plugins and server-side automation tools, all sorts of things. In all sorts of ways, they find LinkedIn profiles, some find LinkedIn email addresses, to even, I think, even phone numbers. So check them out. And then if you want to do a generic email scraping, that means you just want to, you know the name of the person, you know the organization or the domain name they belong to. You can use this little app over here. Click on this app, just put the name, and most probably it works out what kind, in all the combination of emails that people could use, and does a simple test of that email, tries to send the mail and sort of backs it off to see if the web server accepts, the mail server accepts such a request. And it's not the perfect way of doing it. It'll have about 70 to 80% success ratio. I use it a lot to reach out to prospects. Very useful tool. But if you know the website, you can use the Hunter extension, which gives you about 50, I think, email addresses per month in the free version, and then you can just buy the pro version if you need more. Right, between these three, I think you can cover about 150 emails easily. These three do the same thing; they compete with each other. So once you're on a website, you'll be able to click on this, and then it'll extract everything that's found on the website in various ways. It's pretty clever. These tools work very well. So this is as far as specialized web scraping goes. Now we're going to move into automated tools, which is tools which are intended for companies which don't want to code but want large quantities of data scheduled and in a consistent, uh, frequent, almost daily manner. Right, Octopus is one big company which can do pretty much everything. It provides handles JavaScript rendered pages. It has a wizard to make things easier, and it can do simultaneous crawling to make things faster. Parser claims to use machine learning to scrape data efficiently. They have a desktop app as well as a Chrome extension, and you can try it out by setting up about five tasks free. Visual web scraper is not a cloud solution. It's a Windows only desktop app, but it offers up to about 50,000 web pages in the free plan itself. So it's totally worthwhile checking it out. This is as far as there are a few others as well, but this is as far as automated tools go. Now let's get into all the various languages that support it. I'm going to name a few here. The rest of it is there in the article. Node.js is between Node.js and Python is where web scraping libraries really thrive. And I would suggest to use them unless you really are allergic to both of them, you know. And even then, I would say take an Allegra and actually use them because yeah, my cousin did that and he didn't die. So it's perfectly safe to do it. I'm going to just show you very quickly how easy it is to do this. For example, Node.js, you can use Cheerio.js in Node.js. I'm going to scroll down this massive article I'm writing over here. There you go. It's as simple as this. You can just, for example, just load this HTML instead of loading it statically. You can just load any HTML web page with the same command and just get the CSS selector like you use in jQuery. You use a CSS selector. In this case, the ID is example, which is this is the ID, and you can just get the text of this and print it. And these are the drawers you're looking for. That's Star Wars, right? Not Jurassic Park. All right. Then you have Golang. Not much that I know about Golang, and let's move on from there. But I just know that a couple of people in my company uses Gocali as a library. You can check that out. I'm just going to skip to Python because this is the biggest library, Scrapy. Scrapy allows you to do all sorts of things. I'm going to just correct the spelling. Um, and it allows you to create spiders, it allows you to create concurrent connections, it allows you to handle sessions, cookies, it allows you to download images with using pipelines, it allows you to run multiple spiders at the same time. They have a scrapey daemon which can run and manage spiders. It allows you to load up a scrapey shell in runtime and actually run CSS selectors till you get your uh, scraping data right. Um, it's absolutely brilliant. I can't fill them all here, but I'm going to show you how quickly you can actually download something in Scrapey. It's PHP. Okay, here we go. It's let's say you want to download the RSS feed from Mashable, which is not the ideal. Uh, it's no big deal doing this, but yeah, why not? So it uses XPath to actually just traverse the HTML as if it was an XML document. So where basically you start from the parent, item, title, and text, and get the extracted text, and you can do whatever you want with it, right? So in the article, I describe quite a lot of other stuff. Like for example, Puppeteer web scraping is useful when you want to render web pages. Okay, so other techniques might fail there. In fact, Scrapey now has support for this as well. So you can not connect to Puppeteer, you can connect to Selenium, which can load up a browser, a hidden browser. We call it the headless browser, Chromium browser behind the scenes. It renders as if a human being is using it. And because a lot of sites use JavaScript to render content rather than actually push content down in the HTML itself. So that makes it very tricky to scrape it. But with Puppeteer and between Selenium and Scrapey, you will have no problem whatsoever. In fact, you can visually take a PDF snapshot or an image snapshot of this, as you can see here. There's a news Y Combinator page. You can just get the Hacker News page. The entire PDF can just be saved as a PDF using the Puppeteer library. Let's see what else we got here. Um, and then we have, so we're done through Python, overcoming IP blocks. So having done all of these, while you're doing it in a programmatic way, you will eventually definitely run into IP blocks. IP blocks as a reality, rate limiting, usage based limiting, all these things, especially if you're scraping the big networks like Amazon or Yelp or Facebook or Twitter or Reddit or TripAdvisor or any of these services which they are so used to people scraping them, that's pretty easy for them to look at an IP address and block. Even a few IP addresses on different servers won't help because all of them will get blocked. That is the reality. What you need is a professional grade rotating proxy service like Proxies API and full disclosure. So of course we are from Proxies API, and all you have to do is actually just buy an API key. It's pretty cheap. 1,000 API calls are free for an entire month. You can just use that forever if you want, and you just get an API key without even a credit card. So you can go get that now at proxiesapi.com and just use route your request, like for example example.com is requested through the api.proxiesapi.com endpoint, passing a URL, and so it allows for rendering, it solves captchas, it automatically rotates between more than 2 million IPs, residential IPs, residential proxies. It automatically retries your requests that fail. We automatically make sure that these are all high-speed proxies. We've been using them ourselves for almost 15 to 20 years now between a bunch of programmers. And personally, we've done over 50 to probably 70 uh, any type of web crawling project. We've done it all, we come across it all, and this was something that we had developed for our own in-house consumption, and now we made it as a software as a service because why not. And we have hundreds of clients now who are using it. We've started getting enterprise clients as well, so we know this works at really high scale now. So, and all of this works just out of one single API call. So have a look. I hope you found this useful, and the more of it is in the article itself, where you can get the source code, play with it. All the links are there, and much more detail. Thank you for watching.